It's almost impossible to move forward in life if you keep referring to your past. Remember, our solutions are not in our past. They are in the now and in the future we want to build. Hello and welcome to Abby's Holistic Wellness Hub. My name is Coach Blessed Abby. It's always a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for your love and your support. I appreciate you. I always like talking about things I've experienced either with my clients or in my day-to-day talk. And in the past 1 week, I've found myself talking about sticking in the past. And so I thought, why not talk about this today? We find ourselves stuck in the past if we are not intentional about moving on and letting our past go. And as I was reading the Bible in the book of Exodus, I find this as a good example of people who are really stuck in the past. At the slightest challenge, they remembered Egypt. They could not see the future. They were always looking at the past and thinking, this is what we had in the past. And I just sampled 3 verses. There are many. And sometimes you wonder, have they forgotten about the suffering they had in Egypt? And in Exodus 16:3, they tell Moses, if only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat round pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted. But you have brought us out in this desert to starve this entire assembly to death. Think about it. These people are missing the food they had in Egypt. And isn't that the case with us too? Sometimes you resign from a job to go start a business and things go south and you're thinking, right now I would have had a bonus, I would have had this money coming in at the end of the month. You don't move forward, you keep looking back. In the previous chapter, chapter 14, verse 12, they still were complaining and asking about Egypt. And they say, didn't we say to you in Egypt, leave us alone? And you wonder, these people had cried out to God. They wanted to leave Egypt immediately. And they continue to say, it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the desert. Honestly, I find that ridiculous. How can you want to go to your past prison? But think about it. We are just like them. These are just an example of who exactly we are. And the next one is even funny because they had already been fed of manna. They had seen miracles. They had seen the chariots of Pharaoh sink into the Red Sea. But at the slightest challenge, when they faced thirst, they went into this desert and they didn't have water. They again tell Moses, why did you bring us out of Egypt to make us and our children and our livestock die of thirst? These are just examples of who we are. Most of the time, we get stuck in things in our past. We get stuck in our past failures. We get stuck in our past successes. We get stuck in our past pains. Sometimes we are unable to forgive. You will hear a man or a woman, I'm referring to people who are married, tell each other, you did this to me last year. You did this 10 years ago. You'll hear a brother or a sister say, you always do this. Last year you did this to me. And they find it so hard to forgive. We have talked about unforgiveness in the past. It's close to impossible to move forward when you are stuck with unforgiveness. When we are stuck in the past, we find it hard to move forward in life because our past failures become our reference point. Look at the children of Israel. They were always referring to their past. And we can find ourselves thinking that because I didn't succeed last year, because I didn't succeed in the same thing 2 years ago, I'm not going to succeed, and so we get stuck. Our past successes can also become our comfort zone. Have you ever talked to people who, when you're talking to them, you see them stuck, but they are talking to you about their successes 10 years ago, 5 years ago? This is especially common with old people who will tell you, when we were young, we used to do this and that. But then they are not doing it anymore, and so you almost ask, why are you not doing it? Why do you tell me about what you did some time back? That is because their past successes have become their comfort zone. They don't strive to move forward. It's almost impossible to move forward in life if you keep referring to your past. Eckhart Tolle, in his book, The Power of Now, which I appreciate reading that book, emphasizes on how much power we have in our present. You have to realize that you have your now to work with and a future to build. You can't keep referring to your past. One way of letting our past go is embracing the attitude of gratitude. We are coming to the end of the year. What are you grateful for in the past 11 months of the year? It's very possible to let the negative things that have happened in our lives overshadow every other positive thing that has happened. When I think about it, one major loss I've had this year is the passing on of my dad. And that's heavy. And so I can major on that and forget everything else, every other blessing that I've experienced this year. A beautiful family, my career growth, the clients I've had, the opportunities I've had, and so much. But it's very important to keep an attitude of gratitude. When we are grateful, we keep having more of what we are grateful for. But when we are complaining, when we are still stuck in the past, that's what we keep having. Failure, bad things happening in our lives. So I challenge you, what are you grateful for? What are you grateful for? What can you journal? What can you narrate and say, these are my past successes. This is something I'm grateful for. For example, in families, you are a couple. If you keep measuring on the failures of your spouse, then you won't move forward. But if you take time to think, where have they been a blessing to me? You will realize that the positives will outdo the negatives. And so you'll be able to move forward and create a beautiful family because you're looking at what is positive in your life and even in your loved ones. So ask yourself, what am I grateful for? Where am I now? What do I want to build in my future? Sometimes we may need to deal with deep-rooted programming. Like these children of Israel, they had been slaves for a very long time, 400 years. And the only thing they knew was slavery. And so Moses is getting them out of slavery, but their minds are still in slavery. Are we slaves of our past? There's this African proverb that says, you can get a person out of the village, but not the village out of their heads. So how are we overcoming our past? Are we letting our past go? So remember, our solutions are not in our past. They are in the now and in the future we want to build. There is so much power in our now. If we can only focus and look at, what do I have now? How can I use it? In the same book of Exodus, there is this time that they meet the bitter waters. And God shows Moses a stick. The stick was always around, but he shows it to Moses, and Moses takes it, throws it into that water, and the bitter water turns into sweet water. So what is there in the now? For Moses, it was this stick. It was always there, but he didn't know. Sometimes it was the staff that he was carrying, yet he forgot the power that the staff had. What do we have in our now that can change our lives? And how can we then create a beautiful future? So we have to let our past go. We can't forget, because things that happen in our lives we can't forget. But we can learn from them, draw the lessons, powerful lessons that will help us build our now and then build our future. So that's the much I wanted to talk about today. I hope it inspires somebody, even as we go to the close of the year, as we now want to set goals for the new year. I hope you've already started working on that. If not, we can help you do that. That's what I do every other day, helping people so that you become the best version of you. Thank you so much for watching. If this is something that you like, please leave us a thumbs up. We appreciate it, and share it with someone else who may be stuck in the past and they need to move on. And also remember to subscribe. If you've not joined the family, I invite you to subscribe. Share your thoughts in the comment section. See you as we share more thoughts to enable us to grow into the best versions of ourselves. Bye, and God bless you.